Hey, what is up, Patreon? It's Rich. All right, welcome to a drawing video. This is going to be a really, really good one. We are going to dissect two very, very complicated foreshortened figures. I think that this is going to be really, really interesting, and it's going to show you, um, what is important and what isn't. So we're going to look at these two McFarlane things. I just grabbed these off Google, so they're not super high res. It doesn't really matter. But let's do this one first. I want to do the other one first, but I'm going to do this one first and be disciplined. So copying this, and then pasting it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the background so that I can lower the opacity on this just so I can see it. That way we can draw over it easier, and then this is the layer I'm going to draw on. So let me do this. Yeah, hopefully people are checking out these videos. It's like I don't bum out, but the drawing videos don't really get a ton of views, as I would think. We have like almost 140 patrons, and this is good stuff. I mean, honestly, people pay a lot of money to get these kind of lessons, and yeah, take advantage of this. If you're just popping in now, like, realize that this is good stuff. So this is a really, really tricky pose to draw. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the gesture. I'm going to make it smaller just so I can hit the line. I'm drawing right now on a Wacom tablet, not my Cintiq. So we've got the center line here, and then this. So his initial sweep of the pose is this, and I'm just going to lower the opacity on this a little bit. I generally draw now more in Clip Studio, but Photoshop was my kind of go-to. But we're just going to get this first, just to feel these two shapes, the upper chest and that. And then we can hide this. So yeah, you've got this. You know what I mean? And you can do these many directions. Well, that's a little too crazy, but yeah, remember this shape, because what it is it's something turning that way and then something turning this way, and that's an exciting figure. So just at the get-go, that's what you need to be doing more of. If your figures are like this or like this, or you get like more of a mild thing, this is where I end up doing. And if you've ever seen the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, they talk about that. Like, the most exciting pose is going to be the one that's, this is Jack Kirby, this is John Buscema, the core. So let me just erase all that. But yeah, so Todd's already doing that. And look, the reality is you might go, yeah, but what about anatomy? What about this and that? I'm telling you, if you can't set up a figure like this, you're never ever. It doesn't matter how much you've memorized your muscles. It's gonna suck. And look, and that's the reason that you'll see people that are really good figure artists, meaning like maybe they're more classically trained. Classically meaning like they can go to figure drawing class and draw like Andrew Loomis or George Bridgman and do these amazing like figure studies, with shaded pencil and all this stuff. But you take them out of that situation and have them just even set up a basic figure like this, they are lost. They have no clue how to do it, because it's a complete, it's a different skill. I won't say it's completely different. It's variable, but again, remember, you want to feel this like sort of ball in the middle, because this is where everything kind of rotates off of, and your ball can vary in size. And the distance, he has the art germ distance, or what I call the art germ distance. It's a little further, but what you'll find is some of these crunched poses that Todd does, it's a lot more crazy. So let's go back, and we're gonna now let's look at the head, the torso, and we'll build that up. So let me just zoom in just a little bit. I don't want to get too big on this, because it's like you start to lose sight of the thing. So here, like, this is a very important landmark, and again, I think that knowing, I'm trying to look at this really quick. I mean, it is curving back around, but okay, so put in his collarbone, just so that we have that there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the size of the head to the torso. And this is... And this is the back, like if it was a three-dimensional object. It's important to feel the 3D-ness of things. The reason being is it's just going to help you for other things too. But like, yeah, this is the front plane of the face. And then if you could see through the head, this is the back of the sphere. Okay? And then this is starting to head back into space. Very, very important. This 3D-ness is everything in comics. Okay, so then let's do this. We'll take orange. God, I love Photoshop and Clip Studio. The digital age is great for this studies. In the olden days, you'd have to do it on paper, like tracing paper and stuff like that to study this stuff. I mean, you could obviously just drop it. Okay, so we're going to do that simple shape. And again, think of it kind of like an action figure, you know? Like if you ripped off the arms and stuff of an action figure, and then we'll do torso, like blue. Let's do a different shade of blue. Just, all right, we'll do this, okay. So we're going to get this, and I'll do that back edge just so you can feel it with the same purple. Okay, did I grab it? Come on, grab it. God dang it. There, that's close enough. All right, and then this is the back edge of that, if you could see through it. And then for the front plane, we'll do a real bright orange. So again, it's wrapping like that. It needs to be more saturated. Okay, now let's look at it out of context. It's a nice figure. It's really, really good. That's very, very cool looking. So if looking at something like this overwhelms you because you just get caught up in the detail in the costume, the anatomy, and the legs overlapping and stuff like that, the core and the foundation of the figure is this, and this is what you need to understand. So you could practice doing figures like this and just try them in different poses. Again, take this grab the right layer, you know, take this idea of the sweeping shape and go, well, can I make a figure that's this curved? Can I do it this way? What if he's like what if the figure is in space coming towards me? What's the twist on the can his ass be this direction? And do you already see that this could be like a super dynamic pose of someone flying? You know what I mean? Like that's their butt, and then the legs would be like this, or maybe one leg is up and the foot is going back into space, and yeah, maybe this one just goes straight back out. Or you could have the foot going that direction. This is what I'm saying is, once you start to understand these simple shapes, it's just like, it's literally like you have a toy in your hand, but you know how to draw it, and you just go, well, what if I put the foot this way? What if I put the foot this way? And you're going to be able to move all these basic fundamental objects any fucking way you want. I was going to say frickin', but fucking made it. But yeah, so I'm telling you, this is incredibly important, and I don't know that many people that can just fling out great figures like this that aren't already great artists. So if you don't draw at a professional level, then you 100% need to understand this very intimately. So okay, we're gonna take that layer and just hide it for now. Or actually, let me go back just to remove some of the chatter. Oh man, I need to clean my keyboard. But anyway, but yeah, and the thing is you know, the same idea with that back torso is, you know, I could have it this way. I could turn his upper torso this way. And then you're just plugging anatomy onto it. That's the thing is then you just lump the shapes onto it, and depending on the gesture of the pose, things start to stretch or squish. Because when you take, if you like, if muscles were really simple things, like if this is what muscles look like on the arm, the second you bend it, this starts to bulge, this starts to bulge, and then this will stretch. So the shapes of the muscles react to what they do, but we won't get ahead of ourselves here. All right, so let's do this. All right, and I'm going to create another layer. All right, so now what we're going to look at next, I'm going to lower the opacity on this guy really quick. We may only be able to get to one of these today, but you know what? That's not a bad thing. These are very, very complicated figures, and honestly, I challenge anyone that thinks that they're a badass to bust one of these out, and it will test your mettle. All right, so we've got this. I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Man, my freaking keyboard. What? I don't understand what is going on. I'll have to clean this thing when I'm done. All right, so again, we've got this. We've got this. I may even knock this back. I might keep this as its own layer, and then we'll start to plug in the actual other anatomy. But again, this is really, really important. Honestly, if you remember one landmark, remember that center point right here, and then these will be helpful for some positions, not all. It can get a little sketchy when you start to have other poses where this stuff is, but it's still a good starting point. So we'll just do this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the opacity on this just so that remains. Oh, we'll do the head too on this layer. But yeah, I was hoping that someone would recommend like a pose. No one does it. You guys are so mellow. You need to be more aggressive. I'm telling you. It's just like, man, take advantage of this. I'm telling you. What if one day Patreon isn't available for me? Where are you going to get this information? It's like most people, they just dribble shit out. Okay, so then we're going to, let's find my cat. They love those little Easter eggs that you know, the plastic ones. So they have those as toys everywhere. All right, so then, okay, so, yeah, so now what I'm going to do, I'm actually even going to lower this a little bit more because it just gets confusing if you see too much. All right, so this is our basic pose that we've already sort of been dealing with. Now let's see, what are we going to do next? How would we build this up? I mean, generally speaking, if you were actually constructing this figure, what you would do is you probably would have had the overall gesture. So you oops, sorry, wrong layer. And this doesn't, yeah, okay, yeah. So you might have, when you set up your figure, somehow done this. Like you knew that the fist was going to kind of go here, and I'll get rid of the, actually, yeah, that's a bad shape because it's suggesting something that actually isn't right. So let's do it as a box goes into space. It's a little bit better, and then even this we can, just so that we're creating good habits. Okay, so now I'm going to hide this for a second. So that might have been your gesture. It's a little ambiguous. Let me see what else is. Okay, okay, let me try this now. What are you doing, kitty? You're crazy. Is it because I'm on YouTube or Patreon? Same difference, kind of. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create another layer, and I'm gonna do a rough over this. Let me just turn this down. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's on 2 layers. I can merge these layers actually. Merge down. All right. Now I'll just lower the opacity on this. What I want to do is I want to show you kind of like a more legitimate like rough of like what you might have done. Right, let me just. Yeah, this is okay. So like say you were sketching this out, you're like, all right, I want to have Spider-Man dynamic pose. You might have set up the pose like this, like you flung this out and you went like, all right, I want something like this. His arm's going to be going into space down here. We'll have a big fist here coming up somehow. Then we'll have the foot here, and then the other leg will be going away from us. But in theory, I mean, that's kind of like what some people might rough this in as. Like, that's the foot that's coming towards us. But you see how complicated that is? And then you start going like, well, you know, what if you don't draw this arm foreshortened and you just draw it as like a gimpy arm? You know what I mean? Like, it's a smaller arm, but it really doesn't give the illusion of shape. Or like this doesn't increase in size because it's coming towards you. All those little tells are going to actually destroy any sort of believability in your figure. And I talk about this with inks too. I did an inking review recently, and it was the same thing. The penciler was very, very meticulous with their line weights, and they were very, very conscious of what was in front of what with the way that they would indicate things. It was real subtle, but it was there. The guy definitely knew what he was doing, and on top of that, he also probably had inked his own stuff because he was really sculpting stuff. So okay. So now we're going to look at the actual forms that McFarlane uses for these other things, because that's where it's going to get like the blocks, the building blocks of it. So we'll do these in this this color should pop. Okay, so the foot. Let's look at the foot as its own thing. Okay, I'm going to create another layer. Okay. So the foot as its own thing. This is essentially a flat foot. He does indicate form here, though. It's like you can actually kind of, you get a sense of, there's a sense of this, and then I'm trying to see the actual shape. So like this is going up that way, and then this is, it's confusing because of the arch of the foot. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna do that. Erase. Just I want to point out the subtlety of this so that you can see what I mean. I'll grab like red, because he's actually showing kind of part of the side of the foot. All this stuff matters too. I'm telling you, it's like. Brush, sorry. In Clip Studio, so you're actually seeing the side of the foot here. This is a wedge, and you're actually seeing a little bit of the front of the foot, but then you're not anymore. And then this, it's a little bit of an optical illusion he's got going on here, but in theory, you would be seeing a little bit of this. Now that foot is fucking perfect in terms of simple shape, but when you look at the foot without that there, it just kind of looks like a flat shape. So the problem is most more inexperienced artists is like, you're gonna put this shape down, but you're gonna have no idea why Todd's foot looks 3D and yours doesn't. This is why, is he doesn't draw this literally, but that space is there and it's in the drawing. And we'll look at this thing now with the opacity all the way up so you can see how does he indicate that? Because that's what's important. Is, do you see this right here? This is the side of the foot. This is the top of the foot, and it ends right there. Now this is the back plane. And then even on this, do you see these lines right here? This is what, when people ask me, how do I render stuff? If you don't understand this, you're never going to know how to render this stuff, because you don't know what this is. You think this is lines on a flat object. It's not. He's showing you the side of the foot, okay? And then this goes down into space. So like, again, man, these videos, I'm telling you, this stuff is gold for you guys. It is true gold. All right, so this, yeah, I'll come on that later. This is going, and that's why these lines get closer together if you look at what he's doing. He doesn't think about this, he just knows it instinctively. These are more spaced out. Do you see how they get like tighter together? It's because they're going away from you. In 3D space, if we were to just extrapolate this, it's like the train tracks going into space, because this is going away from you. That part of the foot is starting to go into space, and it's so subtle that it gets lost. And what does it get lost in? It gets lost in a badass drawing like this. But if your tells in there don't sell that foot, it will never look as dynamic as that foot does. It'll just look like a flat object that you threw lines on, and that's the problem. All right? I'm going to do 15 more minutes of this video. If we don't finish this figure, you've still got a ton of food for thought on this. All right, so now we're going to get into the leg. And let me turn the opacity down on this. And like I said, I know a lot of people can draw good, but show me drawings that look like this that you've done. And then tell me that you don't need this lesson. I need it. This is good. This is good stuff. All right, oops. All right, so the bottom of the kneecap, because this is a cube, or it's a, whatever you want to call it, like a wedge. And that's a simple form of it, but remember, this is going back into space. If you were going to render on this, what would it do? So the train tracks are going away from us, so the lines would get tighter together. He doesn't render the knee, but do you see what I'm saying? Is this is closer, and this is starting to go into space, so it would get further apart, or closer together. So even though he doesn't do it, if you were ever going to render it, and then this comes down, there's really like two pieces that go here. And again, you would only see the side planes on this. And then this is one big bowling pin at a super extreme angle. But we're just looking at that front leg. But you want to be able to feel the geometry, meaning like this is like the bone that comes down here, and then it goes over the muscle. And if you see, what is he indicating right there? He's indicating muscle. He's indicating this muscle that sits right here, and then this is this muscle. All right. If the bone went all the way through, you know what I mean, it would come to here. It's a little tweak, but I mean, again, that's we need to learn the structure, and then you kind of learn what they sort of fudge. You get enough stuff of this right, looking somewhat right, meaning right, cool looking, and something that has enough tells. Then the figure at its core is strong enough to handle incorrect stuff, and that's where these guys are able to cut loose and do it. So the thigh is its own kind of weird thing, because it's like, man, you really don't see it, and that can get hard for at least for me, because you know, you want to draw stuff. I mean, you feel that sense of like, I want to draw it, so the thigh is essentially like this. And again, we're not looking at the lower leg. This is just about the thigh, and the thigh, this is more something that you would feel. It's coming up, so this is the bottom of the thigh, but as it starts to get further up, if I'm not mistaken, let me look at his figure really quick to make sure that I'm explaining at least the three-dimensionality of it. No, you know what? It actually, the whole time it would go like this. Again, those optical illusions with form. Sometimes you can see it both ways. So just generally speaking for this, it's just one big shape. But we're covering it with the other thing. And then this thigh, actually, this is interesting. All right, so it goes like this. This is definitely going away from us, but then at this point, it actually does do that. So this one actually does have the reverse. This is starting, like, this part of the thigh right here is actually coming up and out, and then this part right here is going in. I mean, if it was a block of wood, it would be like And then this is starting to go into the body. But that's kind of what he's indicating. And then you'd have the side plane. So let me hide this for a second so you see. But yeah, do you see this leg? It's like a chunk of wood that's going like that. He bends it. But and why this is important is if you were going to render stuff, you would be rendering this way here, but as it starts to get close to the kneecap, your rendering would be this way. Again, when you get the render question, how do I render? This is how you render. You render with form. You know? And, I mean, you could throw some hatches in there, but yeah. So very, very clever, like so well done. This is why I say Todd is actually a lot better drafts person, especially in his prime, than people give him credit for. And so he actually kind of doesn't follow his own rule here. I mean, in terms of like what the form is doing, because these lines are kind of going the wrong way. It's not terrible, but you can see these do. These are going the correct way, but he rotates it here. The little renderings here are kind of going this way, but these are all forms, you know, like, okay. And if you were even going to do a topology, it would kind of do that. Like this would go over a muscle, this would go over a muscle, and then this is a muscle on its own. That's why he has these separation things. And then the next shape, let me just remove this so that it's not on our core copy. Yeah, okay. Alright, so we got 7 more minutes. So we've got this thigh. We'll put that to there. And again, what does it do? It goes like this. Oh, this is gold. I would have killed for this stuff when I was learning to draw. I had to figure it out on my own. I mean, you can cobble it together with like books that you find online. It's not that easy. And this is a very great foot too. It has all these characteristics at a different angle because he's really showing form. Like this, it'll be really fun to break this down. So this is the leg. So what you've got is you've got that turkey leg shape here, and then his bendy leg above it. It's rough, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, and then this is all right. And then it just becomes easier to put anatomy in because you know these shapes, and it's like, okay, this is gonna flex and this is gonna stretch, and the shapes become easier to pop on. And there's really not that much anatomy in terms of muscles. If you really count like if this is a chest, it's like there's not that many muscles. It's not that much stuff to remember. It's like 30 things if you know. You know, and you can, as long as your stuff is consistent. I mean, on the whole body, there's probably 56 things, 56 little sort of arbitrary foot marks that you can use or not. But like on a leg, it's like, you know, most artists draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 7 muscles. It's not a big deal compared to some things that you might have to learn. So anyway, and then let's take a look at this foot, and then we're going to wrap this video up for today. But yeah, you could see the stuff works, and it's actually real. I'm just lowering the opacity on this. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we're going to take a look at this foot. I'll rotate the canvas. So really, really nice foot here. It's so subtle. This guy is such a bastard. Because he's so good, and it's just, I think people know it's good because it's cool looking, but oh. Yeah, so first thing we're going to look at is he's got this beautiful wedge here. I'll just draw the whole foot, so. And we're going to draw through. So, oops. This is what you want to sort of feel. And then this goes up, and it's this kind of vibe. You'll see what I mean in a second. And then this is another wedge. Let me make sure I get this right. Okay, yeah, all right. So you can see a little bit of the top of this heel here. Okay. So we're getting side plane, this thing that starts to go up, and then you're actually seeing a little bit of the side of this heel, and it tucks in. This stuff is so gnarly to really pull off effectively. Like these guys that can do these kind of foreshortening poses, I really think it's such a cool quote unquote trick, because it takes a lot of creativity. It's not such a literal thing that's easy to find in like an anatomy book or in a photograph of someone doing it. So all right, so then I'll just draw on the, why is this so light? Let's do it as pencil tool, so it'll be a little darker. But yeah, so you've got your side plane, this. But do you see how this is, there's a ridge right here. He even shows lines, and it goes up, and then you see that? There's a little bit of the side of the foot, and then this is the side of the foot too. And you're even seeing, again, a little bit of the top and the back of the heel. So cool, man. It's so freaking cool. And then because of the webbing, it sort of gives it a look, but he could have stretched the stuff a little bit more over the thing. He didn't. So again, it's drawn so well, it can withstand some anomalies, but where he shows you that this form is arcing is here. This is where he starts to indicate that in fact the top of the foot does have that the wedge. And what I can do is I can show you on this. Like if you can I draw the background? Just draw this. Turn the opacity up all the way. Okay, that'll work. You know, but if you look at a foot sideways, you've got like where the toes are, but there's this ridge that comes up. And this is obviously a foot in a shoe, but it still gets the point across. But yeah, so when he that's what you're seeing. That's that shape there. So, all right, I'm going to end the video here, but that's a lot of food for thought for you, and it will show you, one, not only how to break down a very, very complicated pose, but hopefully how to at least approach creating your own, because I wish that there was a little bit more of this in comics today. But look, you know, Todd is a special breed, and you'll have some people. Another really, really difficult pose is the one where people are like crouched down on their knees and their torso is leaning forward and maybe like their arm is down. We'll definitely break down one of those, like a Beast from X-Men, kind of like, you see him in that pose a lot, like a big figure that's actually very, very what would you call it, like compressed with the pose. So all right, enjoy, and I hope that helps you, and we'll do more of these. This is going to be great. So all right, have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Thank you for being patrons.